Am I the a-hole for canceling my brother's wedding? Plus update. Original post. To make a novel short, my female 27, brother male 30 met his future wife Ella, female 28, at a party 3 years ago. Honestly, we never got along, but I always try to put up a peaceful front because my brother seemed blissfully happy with her. Ella was mean to me a lot, like a lot. She would make comments about my weight, my makeup, and especially my dog. She hated animals and hated that I would bring my lab toast to my parents' or my brother's house. It always just felt like something aimed to hurt me. When the two got engaged, she asked me to be her maid of honor, since she has no sisters or many girlfriends. And since my brother seemed thrilled, I obliged. What I failed to realize when I accepted the role was that, to her, maid of honor meant planning the entire wedding. Like I was looking for venues, florists, jazz band, everything. Even worse, she expected me to put my credit card down for all of it. My brother and her are not exactly well off, and since I have a well-paying job, I didn't mind holding the deposits, but it was starting to add up to a lot. Every time I asked Ella about it, she would say that it would all be paid back by her parents before the wedding. Well, flash forward to last week, about 3 months before the wedding, and she was unbearable to be around. She can't last more than a few sentences before snapping at anyone. So when I of course brought up the money, crap hit the fan. I asked if she had received the updated receipts of everything owed when she exploded. She called me a whole line of terrible names. But the one that stuck out was her saying, "What do you need the money for anyway? Your sick dog is dead now." My beautiful Toasty died about a month before this, after he fought the bravest battle with cancer. He was my sole dog, and I was devastated. I blinked at her and simply left the room, having no energy to even respond to something so cruel. I went back to my car, and after the 20 silent minute drive home, I parked the car and immediately called the vendors and canceled any deposit under my card. Every single one. After almost 20 calls, all that was left of her wedding was the dress and a flower arch. I texted my brother a short explanation, and I told him that every vendor would be contacting him if they wished to keep their services, and they were now responsible for covering everything, and that I would no longer be attending. It was a matter of minutes before my phone started to explode and I just turned it off. It's been a few days, and I haven't talked to anyone but my mom, who thankfully understands where I'm coming from. My brother has tried to call, but I just feel terrible, both about what I did and about what she said. I know what I did was extreme, but I also couldn't sit by and practically enable her cruelty anymore. I still can't help but feel bad for ruining my brother's big day. So I don't know, am I the a-hole for this? Not the a-hole. They were never going to pay you back. It's a good thing she showed how wicked she was before he got stuck with a bill. I'm sorry about your loss. Don't let anyone make you feel bad about what you did. They shouldn't be getting married if they don't have the money. If her parents were going to pay, they can put down their card for deposits. When you give family money, don't ever expect to get it back. I hope the brother is good and dumps the fiancée. Otherwise, he's not that good of a person. Very true. They would never pay back. They are so entitled, and it's beyond belief. Also, an easy way to see a person's true colors is to watch out for their response/treatment to animals. Her hate for animals and a nasty comment on OP's dog reveals how terrible she inherently is. Stand your ground, OP, not the a-hole. Now, OP, since you probably aren't going to the wedding, that block of time is still freed up. Why don't you take a day or two and go someplace special? Someplace nice, just for you. You deserve it. Not just to make up for the way the bride treated you, but because of the loss of your dog. Not the a-hole. That's a fantastic idea. With the deposit money she gets back, OP could go to a nice resort or treat herself to spa day. I don't think I'd like to leave my house or vehicle unattended during that time, unless you have roommates to keep an eye on things. That's just me, having some experience with the vindictiveness of mean people. She was going to take you for all that money and was just using you. Your brother was allowing it. The comment about your dog was incredibly crappy. I'm sorry about your loss. Not the a-hole. Nah, brother is too Twitter-baited to tell the evil queen from Snow White. Now for the update. People ask about me paying. Well, Ella was promised a hefty wedding budget when she was younger. But between those years and the pandemic, they had to dip into that wedding fund. In the end, Ella only got a third of what she was promised. She insisted that most of what she had to go to the dress, but she would drone on about how there were so many things the wedding wouldn't have, and how it wouldn't be the wedding of their dreams. It was only like a week after that my brother came up and asked if I could cover a few costs of the wedding, while Ella's parents made up the rest to pay it back. I do make a considerable amount more, and since this would be my brother's wedding too, I agreed. Stupid, I know. Second most discussed was Ella's treatment of me. Truthfully, she played a nice and loving girlfriend well the most, especially my brother. Even I thought she turned a new leaf a few times, but it would never last. Some of the comments she made wouldn't be always outwardly mean enough for a passerby to pick up, aka my brother. Along the lines of, "Oh, are you sure you want to go out in that? Something looser might be more comfortable." Or, "I would loan you a shirt, but I don't want it to stretch out." Mean girl comments, simply put. She lost many friends over her crazy notion of them being jealous of her, even accusing them of being in love with my brother. She had 2 other bridesmaids in the wedding, but they were barely close as well. Someone said it in the comments about being stuck between seeing Snow White and not being able to see the evil queen within. And that's the best way to describe her. She's beautiful, but something is rotting inside. And the most asked, if did they stay together? I caved and finally answered my brother last night. From what he said, they are on a break. My brother had picked up on a few instances of her acting questionably but hoped it was wedding stress. He was fuming when he found out what she said. And I do know she no longer has the ring now. My brother and I's relationship is definitely going to need some repair, but I think after a long communication break and setting up better boundaries for partners and respect the siblings in the future, we should be okay. Also, yes, I did lose some money. Just as predicted, she hoped I would end up gifting the payments anyway. Ella had told my brother that she was waiting for a surprise check from her grandparents to completely pay it off, but that check didn't exist. Thankfully, the no longer to-be in-laws have agreed to sell the dress to pay me back for what I did lose, instead of legal action. Lastly, to my boy Toast. All of your sweet comments made me cry for an embarrassing amount of time. Lol. I hope I made him proud. There will never be a day I don't defend that dog with everything I have. He is being lovingly remembered by his family and his little brother Crumb. Did Ella reach out to you? Yes, but we haven't spoken. She followed me out to my car that day when she realized I wasn't turning around. I just ignored her and drove away, as she started to progressively get more mad. She blew up my phone and was the main reason I had to turn it off. She continuously said I was being selfish for making this time about me. Even tried to convince my brother the sick and twisted version where I was the one who went off. From what I know, no one from my family has spoken to her, including my brother, the last 2 days. If her future sister-in-law had kept her charade for a few more days, she would have gotten everything. So glad this blew up in her face. She never put up a front. She was too nice helping. She only asked her to be the maid of honor so that she could use her. She posted how the anal wart always had something bad to say about her. It was a very low-effort charade, if it allowed her to be a mean girl full-time, even in front of the brother. And she went and screwed it up anyway, lol. Some guys are just that oblivious to the mean girl / A-hat relative things. It took my eldest son calling out his dad in front of father-in-law and mother-in-law to get him to realize, oh yeah, my parents treat my wife like crap compared to my significant others. So this person wanted her to finance her wedding and still treated her like trash? And her brother just went along with it? Some people. Every time I read something like this, I ask myself, how dumb does a person have to be to treat those who make their lives easier like garbage? Next story. Am I the a-hole for being upset that my daughter didn't invite her siblings to her wedding? I, 47 female, had my daughter Claire while I was in college. She was definitely an oops baby, but I love her all the same. Long story short, I got married when I was 30 and have 2 kids with my husband, 10 male and 7 female. They are, of course, Claire's younger siblings, but I don't think she loves them like siblings. When she came home from college for the summer, she always spent time with her friends and cousins, and never with her siblings. I asked her to watch them so that my husband and I could have a break, but she said she was too busy. But I know that she had time because she didn't have kids or a job. Anyway, Claire recently sent out invitations for her wedding. Her fiancé is a good guy, but he always encouraged Claire to spend time with his family instead of ours. And more importantly, he always wanted her to spend time with him and away from her siblings. Regardless, I've been polite and cordial with him. However, when I saw the invitations, I was appalled. You guys, their wedding is child-free. Children are the most important thing in our family tradition. To not include them in her wedding is a slap in the face to everything our family stands for. Even so, I respected her decision. However, when I called her up to confirm that her younger siblings were still invited, she laughed in my face. I understand not wanting all her cousins and nieces and nephews there, but to exclude her own siblings is heartless, and I told her as much. She called me entitled for trying to dictate what she does with her own wedding, and when I tried to explain I was just looking out for my other kids, and that she's not my only kid no matter how much she wishes she was, she hung up on me. Now she's not speaking to me. Am I the a-hole? And how can I get her to include her siblings? Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole. If she doesn't love them like siblings, you obviously did something wrong. I have much younger siblings and I love them. The difference is, my mom made a big deal of socializing us together despite my bro and I being adults. There is also the factor that my stepdad is always stepping up in our lives and bringing us together as family through dinners and other events. There is history there, I can tell. Suck it up and apologize. None of this is her problem. It's yours. Seems pretty telling that Claire is the only kid not important enough to get her age mentioned. Oh, but she loves her all the same. Wouldn't it make you sick all the same? My heart goes out to Claire. What do you mean you were just looking out for your other kids? Looking out for them how? Do you even care, or are you just pissed? Secondly, she doesn't have to wrap her life around her siblings. There's a huge age gap. She doesn't have to babysit and she doesn't have to invite them. You're pointing fingers everywhere else except inward. She obviously is feeling some type of way, so why not try and understand why your daughter is distant? You're the a-hole. 100%. Two young kids don't want to sit through a wedding. OP is talking out her behind. I'm 46, and I don't want to sit through a wedding. Or even a reception with a sit-down dinner. No kid wants to sit around dressed up in uncomfortable shoes, while adults try their best to ignore them in less photos. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let a guy in my friend's bachelor party cheat on his wife in our Airbnb? Recently got back from a bachelor party for Kevin, male 28. It was not my kind of thing. Drinking for 3 days straight and partying, but fun to see him and some buddies. Kevin decided to invite a childhood friend of his who has always been a troubled person. We will call him Ted, 29. Ted, in my opinion, is an actual psychopath. We will leave it at that. I can elaborate more if y'all desire. On the second night, we all go out to the bars around 10 p.m. to dance and drink more. My brother showed up, and we all had a blast. As we are all getting ready to bar hop, Ted is missing. We scatter and try to find him to let him know we are leaving, but nobody can find him. We decide to stick around at the same bar after quickly checking a few others with part of the group. Around 1:30 a.m., we are all getting ready to leave and we spot Ted with 2 girls. When we ask him what the heck he was doing, he says, "I'm bringing these b****s back with us. They are DTF." We all groan, and I personally wanted to say absolutely not, but Kevin did put up a fight, so I was like, whatever. After an uncomfortable ride back, we all go up to the apartment Airbnb and get ready for bed. Except Ted, who is still outside with the girls. I decide to sleep on the couch. Since my shared bed is with an extremely drunk guy, I don't want throwing up on me. Ted comes in at 3:30 a.m. with one of the girls and tells me to get up, that it's his bed. I say, no, absolutely not. You can sleep on the floor or in with a drunk guy. He gets aggressive and grabs my shoulder to pull me up, and I stand and pin his arms to his side, then repeat what I just said. After the confrontation, Ted goes back to my room to do something, then comes out and leaves with a girl. He returns at 4:30 a.m. He was really mad that I blocked him. I fundamentally disagreed with his choices and wanted to stand up for what I thought was right. My reasons being 1, we all paid for the Airbnb, and 11 of us, all engaged or married in a cramped space, don't want to hear that going on. 2, he is engaged. 3, he never once asked Kevin if it was okay to bring a girl back at all. Following this, I found out later he destroyed my AirPods Pro and cologne to exact his revenge. So now I'm taking him to small claims court after he spat on my face and refused to make it right. He also alleged that I assaulted him, which is just not right. I pinned his arms to prevent conflict, as he is 5 inches shorter than me and made of Play-Doh. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I'm happy to consider both sides, but those of you saying I blocked him is a really poor argument in my opinion. Why do it in a cramped Airbnb when you can just get a hotel? I feel like he was doing it just to show off. Not the a-hole. Even if you had been wrong to block him, which I don't really think you were, as he was involving all of you in his infidelity by bringing her back to the shared Airbnb that he didn't even have a room in. He escalated by making it physical and destroying your property. Good luck on the claim. Hope you win. Thank you. It's my first claim, as I have been lucky enough to never have had friends that would even think to do something so petty. I really hate we couldn't resolve it out of the court, but he basically replied to my request with F you. Not the a-hole. Sounds like he's the kind of friend that's felt sorry for, but no one has guts to tell him no. It's a friendship affair almost. As for the assault, he pulled at your shoulder first. I sincerely hope Ted's fiancé finds out about his shenanigans and dumps him. That makes sense. I was wondering why nobody else was saying anything. They might just think it isn't their problem or feel bad for the dude. By the way, you are extremely perceptive to gather that from such a short story, as that is word for word what a lot of the men in the bachelor party said that didn't know him. So instead of small claims court, the better revenge would be to contact the fiancé and let her know. I would have outed him in front of the girl. Do you think your fiancé would approve of you sleeping with her? Not to worry, you still have the opportunity to tell his fiancé now. A girl who will go and sleep with a stranger from the bar in an Airbnb with 10 other guys in it is not likely to clutch her pearls at the thought of the dude being engaged, lol.